I love history. I think there's a lot of parts of history that we kind of just cast off and don't pay attention to because we just think it's happened. All right, I know the story, that's enough. And I think when we do that, we lose a lot of funny stuff sometimes, but a lot of cool stuff otherwise. But this is a little funny one. During the First World War, Britain, who had been operating a volunteer military service at the time, so you voluntarily would sign up with the service. They didn't have a draft or a conscription going at the time. They noticed when they were getting into the war, France was running 1 million men in their army. Germany's running 1 million men in their army. So they realized pretty quick, like, oh god, this 70,000 guys we got is not going to be enough for what we're going to have to do. So they were trying to figure out, posters, what are we going to do? Offer them some kind of benefit? Like you think of See the World? No, they fell on bullying. Bullying was their decision for how they were going to recruit more guys into the trenches. And that's where the Order of the White Feather was created. It was created by Admiral Charles Penrose Fitzgerald, 1914, where he deputized women, usually upper middle class women, better off people, who were patriotic, but that patriotism was getting focused in on going out on the street and looking for guys in regular clothes who they thought should be in uniform. That was the only litmus test was, that guy looks like he should be in the army. As you can imagine, not 100% accuracy there. But you can't say it didn't work because, oh my god, the public humiliation and shame of a woman coming up to you, giving you a white feather quietly and just saying, you're a coward, why aren't you serving your country? And then walking off, leaving you there in front of anybody else that knows you? It's wild. But like I said about the accuracy not being 100%, the strays they caught were people that medically could not enlist. They had heart problems, leg problems, back problems, something that medically prevented them from joining the military, or they were too young, they were 15 and 16, so they couldn't join the military, or, the worst one yet, they were either discharged soldiers or soldiers home on leave, out of military uniforms and civilian clothing that they would catch. Now, for people that could medically make it in the military, even the kids 15 and 16 years old would fudge the numbers, go over to the recruitment depot, and join the military. But the guys that couldn't, that would leave them pondering the rope, let's say. So you can imagine this wasn't very popular amongst men. So for at least the period of 1914 to 1918, upper middle class women were like the apex predators on the streets of Britain, rather. And honest to God, even today, 100 years later, if there was a war going on, and I was still home already, and somebody came up to me, or some group of women came up to me, giving me a feather and calling me a coward, I'm gonna have the same reaction they did. It would work just as well. There was no intellectual argument, there was no patriotism spin on it, it was just shame, it was just humiliation. They were just bullying these guys. While it is comical to think about bullying as being a way that people would be recruited into the military, it was kind of a rough deal. It got to the point where they had to put up some safety rails because guys in defense industries that were making guns, shells, the uniforms, equipment, anything like that, them coming out of the factory and having the old bullying gang with feathers show up and ending up in the service instead of working in the factories where they were needed, well, now they're hurting the war effort. So they had to commission the government to start printing out pins that would say, in service to His Majesty. So they have special pins for people in the defense industry or discharged soldiers after a while, because it got to the point where they were just getting so many people that it's like, yeah, I'm doing my part. Please, stop bullying me. One more positive spin on the whole Order of the White Feather movement was it's kind of tied to women getting the right to vote in Britain. because in the beginning, when all the suffragettes were locked up in Britain for protesting for their right to vote before the war started, the government was kind of making a deal with them like, hey guys, if we let you out and you bully people into the service, maybe we'll have a different opinion about that whole women's right to vote deal. Huh? So it's kind of tied directly into women getting the right to vote in Britain. Either way, just thought that was a funny little aspect of history that not a ton of people know about, but that's the kind of thing you lose when you just gloss over a period. Alright, you were interested in the game that was playing in the background of this video. It's Master and Command. And if you were interested in the topic, liked what I talked about, I'd appreciate a like, a comment, more detail about the period, and maybe I'll try and do that for you later. Alright, bye.